Hey, welcome to A View from the SIP. What's going on, y'all? Let's first start off by introducing ourselves. Let everybody know who's out there, who's going to be speaking to them today. So let's start with Stephanie Bumble. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, hello, everybody. It is an honor to be here. I am learning from the greats. They said, just let me be great. These people are great. I'm from Lifestyle Education and Resource Services, where we offer support tools and access to our community, access to resources to our community members. And I'm just glad to be here today.
Thank you. Thank you, Carol.
Hi, I'm Carol Redfield Mims. I'm the founder of Support Ed Mississippi. And also I'm just an advocate for everyday people, working along with the Poor People's Campaign. And I'm happy to be here among the best of the best, having these great conversations to engage our audience.
Thank you, Carol. What about you, Jay Struck? Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I am Jay Structure, CEO of Jay Structure Beauty, and I am just enjoying being part of such a great platform, learning as well as sharing my view from the SIP. So thank you all for watching.
And hello, everyone. My name is Rashonda Harris Allen. I am a board member of Lifestyle Education and Resource Services, a member of the Poor People's Campaign. I love what everyone is doing on the line today in the community, and I can't wait to get the topic started. So, Carol, Stephanie, Jay Strick, what you all want to talk about today?
Since our initial conversation, got it?
No, go ahead.
Or you want me to go ahead? Okay,
no, go
great.
ahead.
You know, I'll be down for the conversations. Look, so I wanted to, last week, we got into a good debate about whether or not we should take this new vaccine. Is it safe? We talked about the validity of it. And I just wanted to come back with some numbers, some facts. And I'll post that link also on the page. So for Hinds County, because that's where we are now, I look at the total case number being at 10,279, and that was on November the 30th. I'm quite sure we have some more numbers to add to it today. But out of that 10,229, I want you to listen to this. African-American, Black or African-American, who tested positive is 5,607. Okay, that's just for Hinds County. The white population for Hinds County who tested positive is 1,575. My thing is, it's like this congruently throughout the state, where the Black population is the hardest hit. What do y'all think about that?
Carol, I'm just amazed. You know, I think about what I'm seeing on the news, and from a sociological perspective, I'm looking at our communities, and I'm looking at communities globally. My question is, if globally communities are shutting down just shutting down because the numbers were going up, and their numbers weren't near as high as the numbers that we're experiencing. When they shut down and they open back up, their numbers are down. That seems to be effective. I'm just wondering, why are we not doing that again? And what about implications for schools, our children, and what is happening with that? What are your thoughts on that? I don't feel good. I don't think we're looking at what works, or maybe we are and I'm missing it.
Well, I think sometimes you have people in certain places that don't either know what to do or maybe too afraid to do it. For example, you got to think about it. If we shut a city down, or if we shut a state down, or if we shut the whole country down, in the back of their head, they may be thinking, oh, I'm going to lose money. Oh, the stock market is going to crash, or this or that. Everyone is not worried about our health because they have the money or because they have the clout. They feel like, oh, okay, I'm not going to worry about COVID because it's not going to happen to me. And if it does, I have the resources to get better. Now, that's a sad way to look at it. But, everyone is not in the same boat we're in. And I just think, when it's all said and done, some of it does have to do with finances or money or the economy.
I have to agree with you wholeheartedly because economically we don't matter. Period. It's sad to say it that way. Although a lot of us are what word shall I use? Well off, or a lot of us do have the resources. As a whole, we economically do not matter. And as long as something affects our populations, it's okay. And that's what it seems like to me. And that's just from throughout history till present. As long as it affects the Black population, the African American population, then it's okay. But it's not okay.
I think you and I are on here by ourselves right now until everybody logs back in. I don't know if it was a technical difficulty or what, but I do agree with you. But I think in some cases, because African American people are the hardest hit with diabetes, other underlying health conditions such as heart, we're the highest, especially African American women. That plays a role in how the COVID affects our system. And how well we do respond to whatever medication they may have. And that, with that being said, I do agree with you, Dr. Allen, as to, yes, insurance will play a role. It played a major role in my treatment with cancer. I saw many people during my journey who did not have medical coverage, and they did not get treatment unless it was something out there that was given to them. And of course, that was a trial basis. That's like a whole nother ball game for me, which leads me back to the vaccines. There are several companies making this vaccine. It's like a race to get the best one. That means the validity for each one of these vaccines depends on what genetic person they're making it up for. And I think one of the people online last week said that if we don't get enough African American people to agree to take it, then we run a risk of not being able to find something that will actually help us in the long run. And I do agree with that point. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But there are vaccines out there with a validity of 85%. Now, my question is, will we receive that 85% vaccine, or will our communities, because they are in the gray areas, as we call them, marginalized areas, will we receive the validity less than 50%? Like in other cases, like with chicken pox or the flu or the basic rubella, all of these vaccines that we've had, when it came to marginalized areas, the validity of the ones that we got was less than 50%. So that's my concern.
I'm wondering, we talk about African American women, but we also got to talk about the poor. It's not just us, because you do have those of color also, and then you have those who are poor, extremely poor. So, what do you think as it relates to COVID, as it relates to those other demographics?
I mean, I'm with you on that. If when you look at the numbers, and I think you can get the exact numbers, there are a lot more white poor people than there are black. That's just a given fact. But in the same sense, there are a lot more white Americans just in America rather than black. My question is, why is there such a large number of African American people with COVID in the first place? That's a question for me. That's still something that's spinning in my head that I haven't seen much literature out there to support what I'm thinking. Or I'm just assuming that we may need to find other experts that can actually answer the question, because they keep telling us it's because we have diabetes, it's because we have heart disease, but there's something about that just don't make it permanent to me. I think that even with all of that being said, with these new vaccines and people with underlying health conditions such as HIV, AIDS, such as any type of um, immune deficiency disorder, what would that vaccine do to them? And I keep coming back to that because, again, when I read the literature, and I've spent the entire week just reading literature because I wanted to come back and be able to have a well-rounded conversation with who was ever coming on for tonight's show. And I just hate that he could not come on tonight. But I wanted to ask some questions that I think that were deep in thought for a lot of people, even some other high researchers. And I also want to know, who are the bases of these companies? Why are all of them mostly on the outside of the United States and they have to ship it in? Who owns it? Who has invested stocks in these companies? And when you go out there to look for that type of research, you just don't see it. So who stands to benefit these billions and trillions of dollars that they're going to make off of these vaccines? And now, because the vaccines are out there, it looks like to me they're coming up with a stimulus package just to take care of paying off these companies for this vaccine. But again, who's making the money? Who's making the money off of that?
Yeah, I want to bring up something that came to mind. There was a time in our culture, there was a time in this country, I'm talking about the country's culture, where we were more globally connected and we had access to more information. And so I think that the past, just saying, I'm just a social worker. I ain't even trying to start nothing. I'm just saying the past 4 years, it has been just a little difficult, to get adequate information for people to trust. We relied on information from the World Health Organization about, remember, Ebola and other things, and how we could trace that, and how we saw how it was treated globally. We had information from the CDC about, how tracing and treatment and how they were finding vaccines and cures, and we were able to better trust those processes. But with this, information is so shaky and so shoddy that the community don't know if, just to be honest, I'm listening to my clients. I'm listening to people that share with me. They don't trust the process because they don't have enough information. They want to encourage us to participate in this vaccine, but the community their trust has been betrayed because of lack of information. And I'm not just talking about the Black community. I'm talking about the poor and disenfranchised, the working person inside the inner city communities, and I'm talking about white and Black and Hispanic and Indian, everybody that makes up this. And then when we push back a little bit about this vaccine, people will, how are we going to help you if you won't cooperate? Well, you're not. Let me not fuss. I'm not fussing, people. It's just how I talk. There has not been forthcoming information to help us to make an informed decision in terms of cooperating with the vaccination process.
Mm-hmm.
What are you all's thoughts on that? How can we proceed?
Well, I know how I'm going to proceed, but then I have to think about it was a lady, and she had, and it came across the TV today. It was on the news today on, I want to say channel 16 WAPT, but she already has, I want to say 7 kids of her own. If you're listening, please don't be offended. But she has 7 kids of her own, and then either her brother or her sister passed away along with their spouse, and they have 5 kids. So to be a mother of someone who has 7 kids and have to take in 5 more kids, she may say, okay, I need to get vaccinated. My family needs to get vaccinated. I've seen, 2 people who are very close to me pass away. And now I'm responsible for taking care of their children plus the 7 I have. So we're all getting vaccinated. It was another story on ABC about a month or so ago. And it was a lady, and she went to a family gathering. You think you go spend time with your family and still be in a safe environment without a mask, regardless if it's inside or outside. These are my cousins, these are my brothers, my sisters, my parents. And from that gathering, all families, 7 people died.
Oh.
Over the course of, so many months, but they all died from COVID, and they traced it back and caught it at that particular family gathering. So in her case, she maybe want to say, okay, I need to get vaccinated. Whoever else is left in their family need to get vaccinated. When I went home to a funeral this past spring, March, actually I did 2 funerals within 3 weeks, but from the first funeral I went to, 3 people caught COVID and passed away. So when you're in situations or circumstances like that, how you look at the vaccine may be different from someone who hasn't had to sit in that seat or walk in those shoes. So me personally, none of my immediate family members have caught COVID. I've had a few cousins to have catch COVID, but I need to see what the ending result is going to be for the African American race, or for the female race, or just for the race in general, for us here in the United States. Because to me, it hasn't been enough research done. We're still trying to find a cure for AIDS. We're still trying to find a cure for AIDS. So we got a cure for COVID in 9 months. So how long has it been since y'all have had the opportunity to run trials? Because it hasn't been that long for y'all to run trials. It hasn't been that long to see what the side effects are. Side effects may not show up in a month. They might not show up in a year. It might be 3-4 years down the line when you're realizing you have these side effects. Or is the vaccine going to be something you have to come back and get every year like a flu shot? I got it now, but COVID is not going to go anywhere. It's not going to just disappear. Nothing just disappears. So am I going to have to go back and get it every year like a flu shot? I've never, to my knowledge, have gotten the flu shot. That means if my parents got me one, I don't know. I don't remember. But to my knowledge, I've never gotten the flu shot. But I've seen people get a flu shot and they're sicker than this person out for a week with the flu. So to me, I just need to see more of it. I need to hear about it. I need it to be out there for a few years, and I still might not get it. I mean, that's just me personally. But like I said, those other people who had people close to them pass away, they're they may be thinking differently, or that 65 and older crowd, or that crowd that has different things going on like diabetes or high blood pressure, hypertension. They may have lupus or other different underlying health conditions. Their view on the vaccine may be different.
Well, you are.
So,
Okay, go
okay. Oh no,
I think
I'm
you and
sorry.
I be thinking
You wasn't
alike.
finished.
Yeah, go ahead. You go first this time. But while y'all are going ahead, I put a document on in the comment section. Take a look at it. These are the schools that reported COVID. Now, note that some schools just refuse to report their cases, and you'll see some of those schools listed on there. But I want you to pay attention to Hinds County in particular. So when you ever get a moment today, and this is for the parents out there that are listening, this is how we educate our community on how to get involved. There should be not a single school that should not be listed on this list. And I don't like the fact that even if the list is out there, that the school has the autonomy to go back and finagle with the numbers after it's been reported. So that is on there. I want y'all to take a look at Hinds County. And I want y'all to note now, there's no students in the building in Jackson. And all their schools are pretty much the lowest. And that's because, everybody's at a safe distance, the kids are not in the building. I want y'all to think about how the holidays may impact that in schools, and students are getting ready to come back in January. But just look at the districts. This is before Thanksgiving. And the numbers are constantly pouring in. So I advise you all to click this link on a daily basis so you will know. But then there are some schools that are not on this list. And that bothers me bad because that was a state mandate. Why are you not on there?
And Carrie, we know it's happening because we have athletes, right? And when a game gets canceled and they tell us why, but then they don't appear on the list, it's something going on there. Jay Struck, you was getting ready to say something?
Yes, I kind of lost the train of thought just a little bit, but I am gonna say this. I agree that most people, depending on their situation, are going to look at this vaccine, one way or the other. However, for me, I've reached a point in the stage where my spirituality has really, really shaped and formed me. And in this, I have to say to people, as I say to myself, we must do what is best for ourselves. You have to know you. And I know that there are parents who are looking out for and have to make decisions for their children. In some cases, even for some of their, elder parents that they have to make decisions for. But at the same time, I'm going into this thing with my spirituality. I'm going into this thing understanding and knowing that nothing is 100% accurate, the virus or the vaccine. And just as I've done majority of my time here on this earth, I have taken precautions for me. and I have done things that to make sure that I'm responsible for me. And so I just think that going forward and moving forward, that is what, as a people, everyone is going to have to do. You're going to have to make that cognitive decision to be responsible, whatever responsible is to you. Now, I know what it is for me, but I think that is what has to be done going forward, because that's definitely, the approach that I'm going to take. Not saying that I'm right, but that's just what I wholeheartedly feel and believe.
I think it's important, and I hear what you're saying, that personal responsibility. I was just thinking, it is important for me that I also would, am spiritually led, and that's personal. But I am spiritually led, period. That's how I live, that's how I live. But when I walk out that door, I am not just responsible for my spiritual walk. I'm responsible for the well-being of those around me, which leads me back to the schools, and when somebody open up those school doors, somebody's responsible for somebody else at that point. Like for me, I can do what I need to do for me, but the leaders that are opening up these schools, somebody's responsible for what's going to be happening in those public arenas, because somebody's going to go somewhere not having adequate information. That's, like you said, that's a reality of life. When you open up arenas, bars, churches, it's no longer in that aspect. It is no longer personal. I heard that there was an argument in some places, I think it was in New York, where they push back against churches closing. But see, when church doors open, somebody is then responsible for somebody else's well-being. And people are, I think there's a pushback against that, but somebody has to say, in the best interest of the greatest good, we're going to have to take some sort of precaution here to minimize risk. But I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing more of a pushback. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm right with you, Stephanie Bundle. And again, I'm going back to this list because I'm going to operate purely on facts. I'm looking at Brandon High School right now before Thanksgiving. They had 50 positive cases. 50. That's positive. Why are they still open? I'm looking at schools with 47, 48. I'm looking at Pearl, Lower, 24 cases, 28 cases at the high school. Why are they still open? Why are they bringing children back into the building, knowing that these families traveled during the holidays? They didn't come back home. They didn't self-quarantine. You're running the risk to infecting everybody in that building. You already have 28. It's a small community. How long do you think it'll take before it travels and hit? Why isn't our governor responding like he should? What is wrong with them? That's my thing. And I don't care for the audience. If you agree with him, I just especially think there's a special place in the HW hockey stick for all of y'all, because something is wrong with y'all sending these babies and the teachers back in the building, knowing that the numbers are this high. I'm looking at the coast. They're around 60 cases positive. One school setting. It's crazy.
And there may be an objective viewpoint that's different from the one that's being stated, or a different answer to the question I'm posing. I just don't know what it is. And so that's why I ask questions.
It's no logical sense in it. Even when I get on every day, I pray that he comes on, our governor comes on, and he talks with the concerns that he should have for the people he work for, which is us, the citizens of this great state. But he doesn't. It's always about business. It's always about politics over lives.
Well,
It's always about, oh, if we shut down, we can't sustain. You have so much money planned over in that holiday account you have. Take some of it out. Give people some money. Shut it down for at least 2 weeks. Give it a chance to reset itself. Because if you keep moving and these numbers keep moving at the rate that they're moving,
So I'm going to mention something the governor said in his, I guess he does a press conference every day.
At 2:30 at
So
2:30 p.m.
so I'm just going to read what he stated in the press conference. Governor explains why there's no statewide mask mandate in one-on-one interview. So basically, he says, well, the article says Governor Tate Reeves is still not ready to force a statewide mask mandate. He said the numbers don't add up for doing that. The governor added another 13 counties to the list on Tuesday, bringing the total to 54 Mississippi's 82 counties under added COVID-19 restrictions. But I'm going to stop right there because it's 82 counties, right? 54 is more than half, right? So that's over 50%, right? And you think your number's not adding up. I just wanted to
but
just
the
throw that out
crazy
there.
thing, Doc, is the counties that are the hardest hit, they don't have a mask mandate.
So
So
yeah,
you go figure.
it gives the list of the counties. If anybody want to read the article, it is on the WAPT app, local news. It's the first thing that pops up. But Reeves said in a one-on-one interview that surrounding states that have had mask mandates since the summer have higher case numbers than Mississippi. He said, so basically he's saying the mask mandate is not going to help. Regardless if we wear a mask or not, the numbers are not going to go down. Here's the thing. Yes, we need to wear a mask, but there's other things you need to do outside of just wearing
Outside
the
of wearing
mask.
a mask. Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
more, I can put my mask on all day long, but if I'm still going to go to the bar, take my mask off and parlay and then put my mask back on when I leave the bar, that's not helping. So you got to do more than just say you can't come in without your mask on. Okay, I came in my mask on. Now I'm taking it off to eat these pretzels and do whatever I'm going to do. So it's more to it. And, you know, he also says while there are certainly risks for our kids to be in the classroom, there's a significant risk for them to not be in the classroom, to be home. And, you know, he goes on and on. He talks about virtual learning and things like that. But I don't know. I do remember. I was in a training today. I was going to say I don't remember where I heard the information, but I was in a literacy training today. And they were saying only 0.1% of the children are actually retaining the information like they're supposed to at grade level.
I didn't
And
know that.
right. And then it was saying 0.06%, you know, for another population. But my thing is 0.01%. So basically 1% of the children, not even 10%. So we got, yes, they're being left behind, but it's not because they're learning virtually, because other countries been learning virtually all year round for years.
We've been left behind because our state
It's the
don't have a
resources.
mandatory kindergarten. I mean,
It's the
Resources.
resources.
we
Resources.
was left behind before COVID hit. So
Right.
stop
It's the
blaming it on COVID.
resources. So
Absolutely.
you
Absolutely.
can't.
We were left behind before COVID. We have no mandatory pre-K programs. We have no mandatory kindergarten. Our kids come to school already 3 to 4 years behind. So when you
Right.
address that, then you can talk to me about how COVID hit. But you haven't been in these schools doing any type of quantitative data to pull this out. This is just coming off the top of your head.
Right.
Again, we have a governor who speaks what he feels instead of doing what he knows to do is right.
So
Again, those
I,
cases and those mandates are not coming from the schools that have the highest and the counties that have the highest number of COVID. So that's a question for me.
so the governor, I mean, he's not doing it by himself. He has a team of people. And then he has other people that he look up to that mentor him in and outside the state of Mississippi. But my question
Oh
is,
yeah.
with us in the state of Mississippi and looking at your population and looking at the cases getting higher and looking at how states around you have, like you said, mandatory pre-K or at least mandatory kindergarten, do you not have a scale in your office where you can weigh and see while we're steadily seeking and everybody else is steadily rising? You know, that's my question. When people come to you that's a part of your team, do you not question what they're bringing to you as it relates to education?
Because it's public schools, it's marginalized people. They don't care about those people. They care about siphoning the money out to whatever private schools that they can. You got to realize the people who are making decisions for us never went to school for education. Their children don't go to public schools. So it doesn't matter. So again, the whole idea of us starting this conversation was for us to get educated to understand that some of these people just really literally need to be moved out of office because they'll never see it because they are not standing in our shoes. It does not impact them. And so just like you were saying, if nobody in my family had COVID, I wouldn't understand what it means to get the vaccine. Well, if nobody on that school board that they have, that school policy board, they make those policies, child ever attended public schools, why would they care?
Right. And then you also, like you said, people are going away on vacation. So we just went away for a week, right?
Mhm.
Some people left before the week. Some people been going on vacation the whole time because they're virtual, but they have friends who are face to face and they come together on the weekends. But we just went away for a week. We're not going to really see those. Please excuse my background. We're not, something just got me on TV. But we're really not going to see those numbers until 2 weeks or so. So they're coming in slowly but surely because it's been at least 3 days, but the cases are going to continue to rise. And guess what's going to happen? We're going to have people are going to have COVID. I say we, but people are going to have COVID, and then they're going to be going out of town again for Christmas. Some people are not going to know they've been affected, and they're going to be passing it along during Christmas time. And then those who are affected and realize they've been affected, they're going to be here, but it's still Christmas, so you still going to get those people that go visit their family anyway and just say, well, you stay in your room, baby. But we going to come out here and we going to eat and party because it's Christmas. So when does it get to the point, or when is it going to get to the point when we look at ourselves, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, economic, socioeconomic status, we say, hey, it's a pandemic. We need to stay at home. We need to wear our mask. We need to do what we're supposed to do. Because what's his name? Doctor always say his name wrong. What's his name?
Aussie.
Frosty. He said, do not travel. Stay at home. He said, have your Thanksgiving break with the people who live in your house. But how many people listened?
And I think it's important.
Well, I live alone. I'm a single man. I live alone. So, I mean, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?
You're gonna go to Godfrey.
People?
You're gonna go to Godfrey to get you a plate.
I don't have a dog. I don't have a cat. I don't have birds. I don't have fish. It's just me. No,
but if you go somewhere, Jay Struck, are
no,
you going?
But seriously,
I just call you Jay Struck. I'll never say your full Jay Structure, but
most people don't. They'll call me Struck or Jay. So you fine. It's okay.
Okay. But are you gonna go in the midst of 30 or 40 people? Or are you gonna do like my brother did? He lives by himself as well, in Macomb, Mississippi. And he came up here, and that was it. It was just us and my brother. And he's a school teacher as well. So
I have to be honest. I have been amongst more than 30 people. However, I understand the responsibility we have for not only ourselves but others as well. I just I just think that for me, I just have to move according to me. I mean, I don't know any other way to put that. I have to move according to how I'm feeling, to how I feel, to be around or a part of certain, atmospheres or groups of people or however. Not that it made, I guess, any big of a difference, but although I was around more than 30 plus people, I still maintained, I still was able to be isolated, if that makes sense. But it doesn't change the atmosphere of the people. It just changed how I maneuvered amongst the people, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that it's right. However, that's just the decision and choice I made for me. And as it relates to the schools, me personally, I don't agree with the schools being open from the beginning. I personally do not agree. I do know there are a lot of people who say that, well, kids need to be in a classroom. Um, my talk is all about, it comes from experience, I must say. And, what I did learn and the education I received those 12 years of, I'm speak of public schooling here in Hinds County, Jackson, Mississippi. I've learned more outside of those four walls. And I mean, I don't think that you have to be in the classroom to receive the education that you need. Personally, my hat off to all the educators, but I don't think that, students have to be there in the classroom to receive the education that they need.
Stephanie, were you gonna say something?
I was listening to that point. I hear you, Jay Stroud. I hear you. I wanted to say that what I've observed, and I look at it globally because I'm watching other countries and I'm watching their numbers go down. And there's people all over the world that are feeling certain types of way. And I understand. And while you were talking, I wasn't thinking like on that micro level, like the individual. I was thinking micro, meso, and macro level. And macro means when I'm looking at over in Europe and they just shut it down, the culture had, they followed the leadership of the country. So the leadership of the country said, this is how we're going to handle it. There was clear information, even in, and I am not a communist, or whatever that means, because, but, they just shut it down. It was like, it wasn't complicated. It wasn't convoluted. They didn't confuse the people. That's like, okay, these numbers going up, we're shutting down. And then numbers went down. I don't know how, but that came from, I feel we are left here to try to figure out on our own. Like how did it get to that? How did it get to this country? And the governor is a good example. He just reminds me of somebody that I've seen before. He reminds me of somebody else. He looks like that person in his, affect in terms of like how he talks. His attitude about what happened, and it looks like a bigger macro, from our macro leadership. And I think there's issues with that, and then it trickles down to the. It trickles down to the micro level, I just want to say, I don't want to speak outside of my lane. I'm just saying, as a social worker, I'm observing that our country, our divided political landscape impacts our health, has implications for our education. It has implications for the people that live here. And that divided nature is just not working for the masses of people, and especially when it comes to dealing with COVID.
Miss Stephanie, I agree with you, but it was something that you said that I think is why I have the mentality that I have. Excuse me, and that is that when you are in a place of feeling that you have to figure it out for yourself because those that are in place that are supposed to, navigate certain things for you because I am part of the reason they are working for me, although for them mentally they're not working for me. Um, it may I think that's what pushes and drives me to that point to say, not that I'm not responsible for my counterparts or people that I'm around, that I have to be more responsible for me because it's almost as if I'm left to figure it out myself when apparently they don't have all the details and know everything that they should know. So what am I going to learn? What knowledge am I going to gain about it? You see what I'm saying? If that makes sense. So, I agree with you. I just think that what you said is one of the main reasons why probably some other people feel the way that they feel. And the reason that I say, I'm trying to be as responsible as I can, for me and, whenever I am around those, other people, amongst other people. So.
I want to make a large comment. It's gonna be kind of comical, y'all, because I have to make it fun of it because it's really not funny. But in order to make myself believe, that I can have strength to carry on another day to fight, then I have to kind of find comedy in a lot of stuff. But this is the same governor that said the group size is over 10 will kill you. And then group size under 10 are pretty much lower risk. You can handle that. But you sending how many people back up in the school building? Okay, I do believe in educating our kids. All right, I do believe putting the money towards training teachers to be able to hold online courses that are conducive for students to learn, interactive, engaging. I just think that there's not a lot of money put into that part. We have these little partial trainings where you sign a sheet saying that you logged into Google Classroom, but you never get the official training, right? So I feel like if the money went towards actually training people properly to have online classes, and speaking of that, I may do an online class to show what assimilation really looks like if it was going to be engaging, because our teachers are trying to figure it out. I'm not saying that we have bad teachers, because that's not the case. We have phenomenal teachers who are figuring things out on their own. Even if I love education, and I don't think a child should miss an hour or a minute of it, I put their life over the education piece. Because if we don't have them for tomorrow, who are we going to have? So I don't think running a risk of losing a massive of people just to say I kept a business, or just because I'm playing politics because of what side I'm on. I think that is a careless, and I think that person just don't have a heart. And my question is, what are we going to do about it? And I'm not saying just act and act up.
Oh,
So while we're waiting for Miss Carol to come back, I pulled up
Okay.
the COVID-19 cases on the map. Oh, go ahead, finish, Miss Carol. I pulled up the COVID-19 cases by country. So it lists, the country with the highest cases versus countries with the lowest cases, those who are reporting in a part of this system. It came from The Guardian. COVID world map, which countries have the most coronavirus cases and deaths.
mm-hmm.
And so, guess who's number one? So, United States is number 1, India number 2, Brazil number 3, Italy number 4, Russia number 5, Portland number 6, Germany number 7, United Kingdom 8, Turkey 9, France 10, Ukraine 11, Iran 12, Spain 13, Colombia 14, Mexico 15. And so, you look at this and you're seeing all these countries. You see countries where they don't have the wealth that the United States have, or they don't have the resources that the United States have, but yet the United States is number 1. And then you look, and then we're number 1, not by a million, not by 100,000. It's a difference of, I want to say, about 5 million in between us and India with the highest number of cases. And then when you go to the bottom of the list, cases that are reported, or whichever country decided to report their cases on the Guardian, you got the Western Sahara at the very bottom. But you also have Fiji, that's close to the bottom. Grenada, that's close to the bottom. New Zealand, that's close to the bottom. You got Taiwan, that's close to the bottom. Iceland. But here's the thing. If they can have a total of, let me see, the highest. If you got a country with over 10 cases, with only 10 cases, versus a country with 15, 14 million cases, what is the issue? What is going on? Somebody is doing something right. And others are doing a lot wrong.
I believe that also in that someone's doing something right and those are doing something wrong. I just feel like it's something more to this. I don't know what, but there's more to this COVID-19 pandemic thing. I wish I could really see off into some stuff and things sometimes, but it's disheartening. However, what do you do?
There's a lot that we can do.
I think that is
what do you truly do? What do you truly do?
This platform, what we're doing right now, educating
absolutely
people on using their voice, because the more people who get concerned about what we should be concerned about, the more they're asked questions. I do believe that I was in a space in my life one time where I didn't know much, because I just felt like, I know for African American women, for me and my family, it was always, you don't speak up, you don't do this. And we've just learned to sit back and watch people make decisions for us. Well, we can't do that in this day and time. We have too much at stake. When we see leaders who act out of our own best interest, then we have to, come together. And that's across marginal lines to remove people like that. Because our governor, to me, is not acting in our best interest. And even some of the folks that I see following him, I question, could hate be that great that you would risk your own children's lives because you want to follow a title or a group of people? I don't understand where we are right now in America as far as being the human. Where our humanity, where has it gone? Where has our compassion towards people gone? And we, in my opinion, we've got so accustomed to people saying and doing whatever, we just ignore it like it's not there. We got to snap out of it. We got to wake up. We got to become active. And the more that we talk about issues, the more that people will talk about them, believe it or not. That's how it works. It's called grassroots. And I think that is working. I see a lot of people that wouldn't normally talk about COVID and wouldn't speak up. They're asking questions now. They're asking questions. Again, I put out there those two things that you need to talk about. And one of them is the activity decision matrix that were designed for businesses and schools. I want y'all to take a look at that and be able to talk about it when we come back, because that's how they make decisions on who's been affected with COVID, how many minutes you stayed around the person, but who trained them to do that?
So you guys, we only have about 5 minutes left. Um, so I guess right now the best thing for us to do is just give our final thoughts, our final comments, because
Before I'm sorry, but
go ahead.
I know we run out of time, but it's something that I've noticed that as relate to COVID-19 that people aren't responding to or aren't speaking up for. And the reason I've noticed that is because I am in that industry as well. And that is your restaurant and food service industry. I am a manager for um, I'm not going to call the name, but I am a manager for a fast food chain. And from day one of this, what I have noticed is that, my hat is off to my first responders and those that are, on that front line. But somewhere down the line, people have forgotten about those people that are in this industry who are in contact, whether it's through a drive-through window or walking to their car, are in contact with these people every day. They dropped a testing when this all started. They dropped a testing here in Jackson, Mississippi, right in the smack center location of 5 or 6 of those businesses. And I, for one, in management, I didn't even know that there was a testing site there. I just wanted to know where we're getting all this traffic from all of a sudden. And once I found out, I started to watch that process and see, but no one ever speaks on those individuals, on those people. And of course, I spoke up. I even sent a letter in to the company because it's almost as if those jobs that were considered bottom of the totem pole, they're still bottom of the totem pole when it comes to humanity or life. So that's something I want to throw out there as well, for people, if it's just a word of encouragement, I guess, there are people, that are still catering to these people, so yeah, that's something that I've just observed and I had, a slight issue with because to me, they're considered frontline as well, so.
Anyone who had to work when the city, state, country shut down, anyone who had to still get up and go to work are essential, are frontline. And that includes educators, that includes food chains, grocery
Absolutely.
stores.
Absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
includes everyone who had to get up and go to work.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
we need to change our view
Right.
on who essential staff and who essential workers are. And we need to change our
Absolutely.
view about what's really important,
Right.
not only in Mississippi, but in the United States. So let's go ahead, make our say our final comments so we can close on out.
All right.
Well,
Stephanie,
okay, yeah, I'll start because what was on my mind is that a part of the political process, I was looking that up because I'm the baby on the block. I always say I'm the baby on my block because I'm walking into politics and beginning to understand the integral role that the political climate has on our communities and the direct impact that it has upon how communities are going to build capacity. So I think it's important that we vote because voting is a part of the political process, and we vote for the kind of leaders. We vote for the kind of leaders that represent our best interests. And when we see our best interests not being included, then we step up and we vote our best interests. We vote our voice. We vote for our children. And I just say we vote. We vote in little elections. We vote in big elections. We vote and we keep speaking about the issues that concern us, just like Jay Struck did just a second ago.
Jay Struck, you next on my screen.
Okay. Well, in my final thoughts, I just want to say that everyone be responsible and be even more responsible for those that you have to be responsible for. Um, I take my hat off to all frontline, all essential workers. I definitely take my hat off to those that are overlooked in every shape, form, and fashion. In my closing, it has nothing to do with our topic tonight, but I'm just as passionate about it as well. I want to acknowledge and let those know who does not know that today is actually National HIV and AIDS Awareness Day. So I want to send that shout out to those that are infected and those that are affected by such once a pandemic. And those are my final words.
Miss Carol.
My final thoughts are that the pandemic could have been a good space to bring the country together. But instead, because of politics, it has divided us even more. So I want people to understand what I just said and think about that. And the way that we can get back to that oneness, that unity that we need, is to keep having these collective conversations based on truth and facts. That's what people need. They need people who are authentic to come to the table to share their passion. And I'm have to thank Dr. J for getting this group together because, coming from UJ structure, coming from a collegiate level, such as Dr. J and all of you, Stephanie and Dr. Allen, we can come together and bring that bridge because we can bring the people with us, the people that we know that we can get to listen. That's how it starts. So again, I'm not in a weary state. I think we're at a beginning state of something beautiful happening because even if people click and listen because they call, so we're reaching the people. And I like the individuality of the stage. Bring it every time we come. Again, the pandemic should have been something that happened that brought us together. Instead, politically, it has divided us to a space that we're doing things to cause harm on innocent people. One being the prison system, the other one being the school system, and the third being impacted people. When I say that, marginalized people who we consider the poor. And if you miss a paycheck and you're out there and you're listening, you're considered to be poor. So if something happens between that time, we got to understand now the way that the humanitarian has gone sideways. I wonder if we'll get treatment. I wonder will we be treated fairly. That's why people are afraid. That's why they're afraid.
Yeah.
Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Yeah, and totally agree with everyone, and thank you for that, Jay Struck, letting everyone know about HIV and AIDS awareness. But my final thoughts are truly the whole entire country, if not the world, has been affected because people are losing jobs, regardless if they have COVID-19 or not. They are being affected by this pandemic. People are getting furloughed. Schools, colleges, universities, institutions are shutting down. So we got to think about what is it we need to do to come together, to organize, and to advocate for a better day. Because, like Miss Carol said, this should have brought us together. But instead, it has pulled us apart in certain ways. So, how can we come back together and get this country back to where it needs to be? How can these people who were furloughed get that money back in their check? How can these people who lost their jobs get their jobs back or get a better job back? These families who have lost loved ones, we can't bring them back, but what can we do to make this a better environment to live in? So I just want to encourage everyone, don't be afraid to ask questions. Educate yourself. Don't be afraid to, call someone up and say, hey, tell me more about. Don't be afraid to reach out to anyone on this panel. Just don't be afraid. And please continue to educate yourselves, not only about the pandemic, but about policy and about politics and what it is that we need to do as a country to make sure we're moving in the right direction. And I want to also thank Dr. Carton for allowing us to get together on this platform, because not many people will have done that or are doing it. So I appreciate that. And Dr. Carson is here.
Better late than never. But my little bee that took all night.
Dr. Carson is here, so we flow to her.
But I just want to let you all know it was a great show. I was watching, and thank you all for picking up the mantle and keep it going. And so I appreciate each and every last one of you. Very good show.
Thank you, Dr. Carton.
See everybody next week.
Wow, he's here.
All righty.
I'm sorry, y'all. I was reading the comment at the bottom. And I'm like, I don't want to say any inappropriate words. I'm like, what?
I saw that.
Oh, my goodness.
I saw that.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. Hot topic for next week. We can't hear you, can you?
Oh, if I have any budget left over, and I think this is for every organization who has collected money this holiday season, this should be an open ticket for people to apply and be able to receive some type of monetary donation, especially when they won't be receiving a check. You have to realize, bus drivers, and they make an intro with it. They know the children better than we do. Custodial staff, the kitchen staff, they know the children better than we do. Sometimes I can go to them and get support that I can't get support from anyone else in the building. So without them, a building wouldn't just be a school building. So if you have anything, support the people that are around you.
Wow. Well, all right, Dr. J.
All righty. I'll see you all next week.
All right, Dr. J, thank you for this platform. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
To stay informed about what's happening right here in Jackson, Mississippi, keep it locked to A View from the SIP.